Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? How is everyone doing? Hey, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas, with this inspirational morning talk. Hey, for first-time listeners, I just come on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:45 Central Time. That's our time here in Texas, and I just give you what God inspired me to talk about that day. You can go on YouTube and you can check us out there. We got lots of stuff on the YouTube. And I finish here, I just upload it to YouTube. But yes, it's a rainy day here in Houston. Not rainy, but it's overcast. We're getting little showers, which we badly need. The last month we haven't received no rain. It was up in the 100 degrees, so our grass and the trees and everything, it was really wanted some rain. So some much needed rain. But yes, guys, I'm going to get into this today, man. I just want to remind folks, I just want to remind the believers that the power they have through the Holy Spirit. I just want to remind us. I want to lay this out and remind us the power that we have. Because what happened, a lot of us get dependent on a pastor, a preacher, an apostle, a prophet. We get so dependent on these people. And we got a lot of things going on in our lives, and we forget the power that we have and not using the power that we have, and just get dependent and waiting on somebody else to touch us, somebody else to prove us. We got a lot of power, and we need to remember the power that we have and use the power. Yes, it's good to have a pastor or an apostle and all these guys pray over you and pray with you. But lots of time we just sitting back thinking, if that don't happen, we can't do nothing and our situation cannot change. And I'm here to remind you of the power that you have through the Holy Spirit, right? So let's get into this now. This is in Acts. I can just read a little bit in Acts for us. Acts, we can go through a few scriptures. Acts 10:37 through 38. And read. This is when Peter was talking to a group of disciples, a group of Gentiles, right? I can just pick it up from 37. You can go back and read the whole Acts 10. It got a lot of information in there, really good information, right? So he said, you know what happened. He's talking to this group of people, right? Just trying to remind them about the power of Jesus did and all of that. So he said, you know what had happened through the province of Judea, beginning in Galilee, after the baptism that John preached about. So you remember when John the Baptist was talking about, the coming of this guy and all that. So he talked about, so he said in the beginning in Galilee, after the baptism that John preached, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him. So Jesus, he was reminding people that Jesus was anointed by the power of the Holy Spirit, right? And he went around healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him, right? So Jesus was anointed with the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit. Let's look at Luke 4:18. Luke 4:18, this is what Jesus speaking. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, and that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, right? So you see, the Holy Spirit, again, is the Holy Spirit. What I want to show, that's what Jesus get his power from, right? And it's the Holy Spirit is working through him. God anointed with the Holy Spirit. If you go back all the way to after he just finished his fast, he said he was filled with the Spirit and all that, right? So the Holy Spirit is what responsible for all this work that he's doing and all of that, and the power, right? So, and this oppressed here, guys, this captives we talking about, he has sent me to proclaim the captives will be released. This is not physical men from a prison. This is spiritual. Remember up here when he talk about people who's under, he go around healing all who are under the power of the devil. That's what we talking about. People who held captive by the devil. People who held captive by their situations, which is ultimately the enemy probably got you captive. And then oppressed. People who were oppressed by evil also. That's what he's saying, he come to set free. So let's see some of those captives and some of those oppressed. Let's look through here quick. Matthew 8:28. We can read from 28 through 32. Jesus healed 2 demon-possessed men, right? When Jesus arrived on the other side of the lake in the region of in the region, two men who was oppressed by demons met him. They came out of tombs and were so violent that no one could go through the area. They began screaming at him, "Why are you interfering with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torture us before the God's appointed time?" So the demons in these men, who people couldn't even go close to, they don't recognize Jesus and Jesus' power. They know who this power. They know, so they're begging him, "Why you coming to torture us?" Some says torture us. This NLT say interfere with us, right? Have you come here to torture us before God's appointed time? So you see, there's a time that's appointed when they can really be gone to full in the hell and to be tormented. So he wanted, man, why you come to torment us before the time? The time hasn't come yet. Why you coming here to torment us before the time, right? So there had happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding in the distance. So the demons begged, "If you cast us out, send us into that herd of pigs." So I'm saying these men were some of the captives, held captive and oppressed. That's what God's saying. The Holy Spirit come upon him for he anointed the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, right? So this is what he's talking about when he talk about captives, and he talk about oppressed, people who are oppressed by evil, people who held captive by evil. That's what he said he coming, he's going to release, right? Let's look at Matthew, next one quick, to Matthew 8:14 through 17. Matthew 8:14 through 17. When Jesus arrived at Peter's house, Peter's mother-in-law was sick in bed with a high fever. But when Jesus touched her hand, the fever left her. Then she got up and prepared a meal for him. That evening, many demon-possessed people were brought to Jesus. He cast out the evil spirits with a simple command, and he healed all the sick. This fulfilled the word through the Lord, through the prophets Isaiah, who said, "He took our sickness and removed our diseases." Again, I'm just using two of these stories here to show it's the Holy Spirit, right, that Jesus had in him. That Holy Spirit is what these evil forces recognizing, and when they speak to them, they got to move, they got to go. So Jesus healed a lot of people, remove evil forces from them and all of that. But the power, you hear himself saying, coming from the Holy Spirit, right? God anointing with the Holy Spirit, and that's all helping it to do all of these things, right? So let's look at John 14:16 through 17. And hear what he's saying now, right? This was what Jesus was saying after he was leaving them, right? After he was leaving them, he said, "And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate." I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate who will never leave you. He is the Holy Spirit, same Holy Spirit what he was operating under. The Holy Spirit who leads into all truth. The world cannot receive him because it isn't looking for him and does not recognize him. So he said people of the world who are not believers can't receive the Holy Spirit because they're not looking for him and doesn't recognize him. But you who know him, because he lives with you now and later will be in you, right? So what I'm saying here, when Jesus was leaving, he said, "Man, I'm going, but I'm going to ask God to leave another advocate for you. The Holy Spirit, who's going to be living in all believers. He can be living in all believers. And what was aiding him to do all of those miraculous things that he was doing? The same Holy Spirit. So I'm just trying to say, we as believers have the same Holy Spirit, right? We have the same Holy Spirit. So we are too dependent on someone else who has that same Holy Spirit too. I'm not saying God ordained these priests and pastors and all of these men. Yes, but you can do a lot of things on your own. You don't have to be touched. You can do a lot of things. You can fast and pray and use the same power of the Holy Spirit to take care of some stuff that's going on in your life right now. Right now, you don't have to wait and depend on somebody else. You can do a lot of these things. That's the same Holy Spirit that abide in Jesus and have him doing that. He said, man, when I'm leaving now, but I'm going to hook you guys up. I can ask Father to give you the same power. To give you the same power. I can ask him to give you the same power. Right? So if you're thinking, oh, that was reserved only for the Jews, Gregory was talking to Jews. Let's look at Acts 10:44 through 46 and see. Let's look. You might say, man, you know we're talking, but that was only reserved for the Jews and the 12 disciples. Okay, let's look at this here. Let's look at Acts 10:44 through 46 and see if it was only reserved for the Jews and a special set of people, right? The Gentile received the Holy Spirit. That's what it's entitled. Even as Peter was saying these things, the Holy Spirit fell upon all who were listening to the message. This up heading here is the Gentiles received the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit fell upon all who were listening to the message. The Jewish believers who came with Peter were amazed that the gift of the Holy Spirit had been poured out onto the Gentiles too. For they heard them speaking in other tongues and praising God. Jennifer, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing today? How are you doing? Yes, so if you want to say, you want proof that the Gentiles receive it, he gave everybody who's the believer, the Holy Spirit can be poured out on you, and it's in you once you give your life to Christ. You got it. So don't stop just waiting and depending on the pastor, an apostle, and a bishop to touch you and do all of these things, man. You got the same Holy Spirit that they have. The difference is they might study more and read more and understand more the laws and all of that more than you. But you can do a lot of things. A lot of those situations going on in your family, with your kids, with your own personal life, with things around you. Man, we got the power. We as believers need to start using our power that we have, right? Let's look at Ephesians 1:18 through 21 and see. Ephesians 1:18 through 21, right? This is when Paul talking to the Ephesians. He said, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you. The riches of his glorious inheritance is in his holy people, and his incomparable great power for us who believe. That great power for us who believe. The power here, what he's saying, Natasha Prasad, good morning, good morning. The power is the same as the mighty strength he exerted when he raised Christ from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realm. So he's saying, man, we got the same power in us that raised Christ from the dead. You know what power is that? That raised Christ from the dead. He's saying that same power resides in us believers. That same power. So, man, I just want to remind believers today that we have a lot of power that we're not using all the time. And effectively, we can do a lot more than we are doing. We can do a lot more than we're doing for those situations that we're in, man. Use these scriptures, use these words, pray them, study them, man, and you can do a lot of these miraculous things too. It's not just reserved for a few. He said he gave you that power, the same power residing in what he used to raise the dead, raise Jesus Christ. We got it. He gave us the Holy Spirit. Jesus hooked us up with that. He said, man, I'm going to ask the Father to give you another advocate who will never leave you, who will never leave you. He's the Holy Spirit who leads into all truth. The world cannot receive him. People who are not believers cannot receive him because they're not looking for him. They don't recognize him. But you who know him because he lives with you, man. So, guys, I just want to remind you guys, you're going through your sickness. You're going through your kids giving you trouble, man. Your marriage giving you problems, man. Whatever else going on at the job or going on all around. We got power that we need to use. First things, law, we've got to remember is we are not fighting against flesh and blood. We are not fighting against flesh and blood. So that means the person in front of you, the sickness and all of that, we are not fighting against flesh and blood. It's not our problem. is what's behind that. As Paul said, focus on the things that are not seen. Of course, as a believer, that's how we got to start thinking. Once we start getting upset with the boss in front of us, or the person who's talking our name, that person who's telling lies on us, that person who's trying to bring us down, once we get focused on that person who want to beat them out and curse them out, that's where we err right there. That's where we make the error. Because our problem is not them. It's what is driving them. See, the enemy going to use anything or anybody to get at you. He can use anything or anyone to get at you. And once you make the mistake as a believer and forget our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against all the rulers of the powers of the world, and give the whole hierarchy of the kingdom of darkness, right? And Paul said, focus on the things that are not seen. Look beyond that person who cursing you out, and you come against that force that's driving them to do that. Sometimes some people don't even know you, and they just know they don't like you. They never meet you, nothing, but they just, I can't take her, I can't take him. And they start, it's not them. They don't know you, but it's the power, the evil in them that knows you, that's trying to bring you down because of your relationship with God. But once we make the mistake and fight against the flesh and blood, we give up all of our power now. We violate the spiritual law. And the Holy Spirit said, hey, can't put that, you let me use my powers to help you now. Because you violating the law. You forget. It's not that person, man. Use me to come against what's driving them. And we start praying against the enemy that's driving them. First mistake we make, right? So we got to remember that our fight is not against flesh and blood. And we got the power. We got a lot of power. Don't sit back all the time and depend because I get a pastor, I can't do nothing, or a bishop in touch me and anoint me and put his hand on me. Jesus already hooked us up, man. He already hooked us up. He said, when I leave here, the advocate, I can ask God to give you the advocate. The Holy Spirit. You got it. You got it. You got it. Let's put him to work. He want to work for us. Let's put him to work, guys. Right, guys? So we got power. Let's use the power that we have, man. Let's use the power. That's what I'm beginning to do. I'm speaking to myself, too. I'm learning, too, as I'm trying to put this message out there. I'm learning from it, too. Right? But let's use the power that we have, guys. Right? I'm going to leave that there. We got a lot of power. More than we ever think we have. Just a reminder. And let's use it. All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again on Monday. Goodbye.